1980s, network TV was chasing the next big sitcom success, and Happy Days seemed unstoppable. Yet when Joanie and Chachi got a show of their own, something didn't click, and viewers drifted away. Here's a top 10 countdown uncovering the real reasons Joanie Loves Chachi never captured the magic. Number 1. Too much too soon. Audience burnout. Let's go back to 1982, when Joanie Loves Chachi spun off from the beloved sitcom Happy Days. ABC had high hopes, banking on the charm of Erin Moran and Scott Baio to keep the nostalgia train rolling. But instead, it hit the brakes hard. With Happy Days still lighting up prime time, viewers suddenly faced back-to-back episodes featuring nearly identical storylines. Joanie and Chachi's romance, barely off the ground in the original show, was thrust front and center every week, twice. The result? Audiences felt overwhelmed and disconnected. Viewers craved the tight-knit gang from Arnold's, not a second helping of teenage angst. The magic of the original cast was diluted, and fans quickly grew tired of overlapping plot lines. Ratings plummeted, and Joanie Loves Chachi finished after just 2 short seasons, a casualty of trying to do too much, too soon. As the jukebox faded and the laughter grew quieter, it was clear that sometimes audiences only want one trip down memory lane at a time. Number 2. Network interference and creative turmoil. On the surface, Joanie Loves Chachi seemed destined for greatness. It spun off from the juggernaut Happy Days, reuniting Erin Moran and Scott Baio in their beloved roles. But behind the scenes, things were far from smooth. ABC executives kept a tight grip, endlessly tinkering with scripts and steering the story down ever-changing paths. One week, Joanie and Chachi's love story took center stage. The next, slapstick comedy abruptly took over. The network even shuffled showrunners multiple times in a frantic effort to nail the tone. No fewer than 3 different leadership teams passed through in just 2 seasons between 1982 and 1983. This instability seeped into every episode, confusing writers and actors alike. What could have been a warm slice of spin-off magic instead felt jumbled and lost its heart. As viewers tuned out, you could almost sense the creative exhaustion in the air. The result, Joanie Loves Chachi faded fast, a reminder that too many cooks in the kitchen can spoil even the most promising leftovers. And so, the show's exit set the stage for the next nostalgia-fueled misadventure. Number 3. Weak supporting cast. Failed to click. Imagine tuning in with high hopes, only to find the room feels emptier than your grandma's old living room. That was the strange sensation for fans watching Joanie Loves Chachi, the much-anticipated spin-off of Happy Days, when it debuted in 1982. The show pinned its hopes on new faces like Uncle Rico and Annette, background characters written to prop up fresh storylines. But unlike Ralph, Malph's rapid-fire wit, or Potsy's eager charm back in Milwaukee, these new additions never found their rhythm. The supporting bandmates, meant to bring big laughs and heartfelt moments, ended up fading into the wallpaper instead. With each episode, Joanie and Chachi's chemistry floated in a sea of missed opportunities and half-baked punchlines. Viewers could feel the emptiness, the missing sparkle that once made the original Happy Days ensemble so magnetic. In just 2 short seasons, the promise fizzled. All that remained was a lingering sense of what could have been, as the next big hit slipped quietly off the stage, leaving audiences ready for the next chapter in television nostalgia. Number 4. Lack of clear sitcom identity. From the very first episode of Joanie Loves Chachi, something felt a little off. You could sense it in the awkward transitions between tender love story, toe-tapping musical numbers, and backstage band drama. Producers couldn't seem to settle on one heartbeat for the series. Was this a starry-eyed romance, a showcase for 80s pop tunes, or a lighthearted look into the world of showbiz? While Happy Days transported viewers straight into a warmly filtered 50s America, Joanie Loves Chachi stumbled between genres. Even the show's stars, Erin Moran and Scott Baio, seemed to be searching for their footing week after week during its short run from April 1982 to May 1983 on ABC. The result, a series that felt scattered and sometimes generic, lacking the singular nostalgia that defined its parent show. Audiences quickly tuned out, unsure of what they were watching or why they should care. When a sitcom can't decide what it wants to be, nobody sticks around long enough to let it figure things out. Next, we explore the difference a well-defined tone can make. Number 5. Stiff competition in the time slot. Pink neon glowed, laughter echoed. But Saturday nights in 1982 belonged to someone else. When Joanie Loves Chachi made its debut, The odds were stacked high, airing right up against powerhouse shows like The Love Boat on ABC and Magnum, PI over on CBS. Joanie and Chachi barely had room to breathe. Ron Howard's Richie had left Happy Days, and now Erin Moran and Scott Baio had their own shot at stardom. But the time slot was a killer. Viewers already had their habits, and few wanted to change the channel. Even special appearances by beloved Happy Days characters couldn't rescue the struggling spin-off. Modest ratings dipped further week by week, despite the catchy theme and cross-promotions. By the end of its short two-season run, Joanie Loves Chachi faded quietly, a reminder that sometimes timing really is everything in television. Next up, a look at another iconic show that faced its own uphill climb. Let's pause for a second. Were you Team Love Boat or all in on Magnum PI? Which Saturday night favorites kept your family glued to the couch? Share your TV rituals and favorite characters. We'd love to hear what made your weekend lineup special. Number 6. Chemistry fizzled under pressure. It is hard to forget the hopeful fanfare that greeted Joanie Loves Chachi on ABC in 1982. Fresh off the irresistible spark these two shared on Happy Days, viewers tuned in, eager to see their favorite couple step into the spotlight. But soon, that very spotlight proved too bright and a little too sweet. The romance that once thrived on witty back and forth wilted when Joanie and Chachi's every moment became syrupy and safe. Without the lively banter and the larger Happy Days family, much of their chemistry faded. Even Scott Baio, who played Chachi, later admitted he felt creatively boxed in and overexposed, a far cry from the freedom and fun he enjoyed on the original show. The series limped through 2 short seasons before quietly disappearing, leaving many to wonder what might have been if the magic formula had remained intact. Sometimes too much sugar spoils the batch. What's next is another lesson in the art and risk of spinning off something beloved. Number 7. Shaky writing and shifting tone. A sitcom lives or dies on its vibe, and Joanie Loves Chachi just couldn't decide which way to go. One week, Joanie and Chachi's sweet romance took center stage. Next, it was wacky band hijinks or broad slapstick that belonged in a Saturday morning cartoon. All the while, the show's writers seemed caught between appealing to grown-up fans of Happy Days and chasing the after-school crowd. Midway through the 1982 season, drafts changed hands, story arcs shifted mid-episode, and new writers arrived almost overnight. Even Erin Moran and Scott Baio found themselves playing characters they barely recognized. The show's original spirit, heartfelt and nostalgic, got muddied with gags that missed both kids and adults. Longtime Happy Days followers tuned in expecting that old blend of warmth and humor, but were left scratching their heads by odd story turns and flat punchlines. Inconsistency ruled each week. It was like biting into your favorite burger and realizing the chef swapped the recipe halfway through. Sometimes trying to please everyone means connecting with no one. Let's keep moving. There's more to uncover about primetime's changing landscape. Number 8. Absence of beloved Happy Days characters. There's something different in the air when you first tune in to Joanie Loves Chachi. Gone are the warm, bustling kitchen scenes with Mrs. C or Mr. Cunningham's gentle advice. Outside of the occasional Fonzie pop-in, most beloved faces from Happy Days are nowhere to be found. The absence of Richie's boyish optimism, Potsy's antics, or Ralph Malph's wisecracks left Joanie and Chachi out on their own. Premiering on ABC in 1982, the spin-off tried to build a new Chicago backdrop for its young couple. But deep down, what fans craved most was the magnetic ensemble from their Milwaukee roots. Without those heartfelt crossovers or shared storylines, Joanie Loves Chachi felt curiously adrift, missing the familial spark that made Happy Days shine. For many, it was like stepping into an empty house, familiar but echoing with absence. And so, the show struggled to take hold, reminding us that sometimes it's the whole gang that makes the magic real. Next up, let's see how the world responded to this lonely new chapter. Number 9. Lackluster music performances overshadowed story. The minute Joanie and Chachi stepped onto that neon-lit stage, you could feel something was off. Instead of the playful banter and tangled romance that made Happy Days a household name, their new show cranked out one awkward pop song after another. Songs like I Love You So Much might have fit the early days of MTV, but in 1982 and 1983 on ABC, they stalled the plot more than they propelled it. Producer Gary Marshall had visions of Joanie and Chachi breaking out as real-life rock stars, so the scripts stretched to include yet another performance, even when the story begged for honest connection. But the singles and records never took off, and viewers wondered when the relationship everyone loved would get a chance to breathe. Instead, Chachi's hair was bigger than his emotional depth. As each episode hit its predictable musical cue, the spark that made Joanie and Chachi irresistible faded into canned applause. Maybe that's why Joanie Loves Chachi lasted just 2 short seasons before the last note sounded. Close your eyes for a second. You can almost see the disco ball spinning, but the heart of the story missed its beat, pushing us onward to our next pop culture misstep. Number 10. Weak Chicago setting change from Happy Days. Picture the original Happy Days crew, gathered at Arnold's, the jukebox humming, the Fonz leaning coolly in the corner. That iconic vibe was the soul of the show. But when Joanie Loves Chachi premiered in 1982, it whisked its leads, played by Aaron Moran and Scott Baio, straight out of Milwaukee, and landed them in an unfamiliar part of Chicago. Suddenly, the comfort of the Cunningham home and Arnold's was replaced by a fictional neighborhood with a new crew of adult bandmates. The heart and history of Happy Days faded. Where fans once counted on cameos from Richie or the Fonz, there was only the echo of what made the original sparkle. The warmth was gone. The new bandmates never quite gelled, leaving even loyal viewers feeling like strangers in a once familiar home. By the end of its 2nd season, Joanie Loves Chachi quietly bowed out. Sometimes you just cannot bottle lightning twice. And next, we see what happened when someone else tried.